right, so top of the hour here. We'll kick it off. All right, my name's Hunter. I am one of the community leads here with onX. I get to work with our ambassadors and events, and also help lead our master classes. My ride type is full-size four-wheel drive. I have a 5th gen Power Wagon. That is my my vehicle of choice right now. Before that, was kind of diehard Toyota guy. So that's a little bit about me.
Hey everybody, I'm Jake. I am also on the off-road marketing team. I have a lifelong participation in dirt biking, snowmobiling, and off-roading. So I'm going to have a really good perspective for those out there that are tuning in from on two wheels or snowmobiles. I'll have a good perspective from that point. So happy to have everyone on the call, and hopefully you guys learn a lot today.
All right, so here's what we're going to be covering tonight. This class does kind of cover a wide kind of experience level range. If you've never been in onX Offroad before, we're starting with the basics to kind of get you situated, get you to know what you're looking at, what the tools are, how to use them. If you have been in onX Offroad before, we will be getting into some more specifics and kind of detailed stuff as well. So Jake is going to start in the web map and then jump over to the mobile. We encourage you to have your device open as you follow along, especially if you haven't spent a lot of time in the app. This is a great way to get you up to speed. Then after that, we're going to do kind of a practice run, kind of showing how to use the tools we're covering on kind of a real world setting. And then we will be doing a giveaway towards the end of the session here. So definitely stay tuned for that. And then the last 15 minutes or so, we're going to be doing a live Q&A. We're going to try and get through as many questions as we can. If we don't get to your question, you can go ahead and send an email over to our customer support team. And it's help@onxmaps.com. And they can get you squared away. And also, if you have account questions or like payment questions, we're not really covering that in this, but the support team definitely can get you squared away. And with that, I'll kick it over to you, Jake, and we'll dive in.
Cool. All right, let me pull up WebMap. How's that look, Hunter?
Looking good.
Okay, cool. And then for those of you who don't know, whenever we say web map a lot, but this is just simply the desktop version of your onX Offroad app. Keep in mind, your account's going to sync through all your devices. So if some of you have your phone up in front of you or a laptop in front of you, for the purpose of this demonstration, it's going to be done like 85% done in web maps, just a little easier to see, bigger screen. And so I will dive into the phone portion at the end of this because there are a few differences, but for the main functionality, this web version is going to be pretty spot on. As Hunter mentioned, we're gonna kind of kick off like from the basics. It's gonna sound like I'm just rambling on here. There's a ton to cover. I'll try to go as slow as we can, but we always seem to be running out of time on these things. So when you pull up the map for the first time in your desktop, it's gonna look like this. You're gonna be at this zoom level. And before we even dive in or start scrolling around or playing with tools, anything like that, I just kind of wanted to highlight some basics here. So on your left here, this is where you're going to have all your features, functionality, your account settings. You're going to have your search bar up here. This is where you're going to be filtering. Your toolbar is on the very right corner. Your zoom, your scrolls right here. Your different satellite imagery or topo is right here. And then this last bottom right is your orientation button. So whenever you hit that, it's going to ping you back to your location. And then I actually wanted to come in here. I think I forgot to cover this last class, but For the settings tab, if you guys dive in here, you're going to kind of have the option to customize a little bit if you want imperial metric, if you prefer UTM, DMS, whatever. This is where you would select all these things, show crosshairs. That can be handy to kind of help orient where you're at on the map, and all that stuff. You'll also at this area, you'll also find the legend right here. So if you guys are ever like, hey, shoot, I forgot what so and so means, or what do they mean by 50-inch trails, or what do they mean by high clearance, like everything is going to be able to be pulled up in this legend. You can scroll down. You don't need this because this, for those of you who at least play with the app a little bit, it's interactive, and you just click on stuff and it'll tell you what you need to know. But if you don't like that and you just like looking over and not clicking on anything, this is where you'd find the map legend. It's going to be option for dirt and snow up here. So the snowmobile, groomed trails, ungroomed, all that stuff, same option there. So with that being said, the demo, I think I'm going to dive into Utah for this demo. So as you see me scrolling in, you see all these blue things pop up and you're like, what the heck's going on? And ignore these pins for now. This is just an account that I have pins all over, but you will see these blue pins pop up on yours. And then what these are meant to do is they're meant to draw your eye onto our featured trails, and which we'll dive into here in a minute. And I'll show you an example of an actual featured trail, but that's going to be, think of it as like hot zones in the country. Like if somewhere, like Southwest Utah, for example, like there's a lot of blue down there, right? So there's a lot of featured trails, feature rich content. We're going to have photos, trail difficulties, lengths, all that good stuff that you guys need to know. But let's dive into Moab. Okay, so we're right about here. We're at a 30-mile zoom right here hovering above Moab, which is right here. And before I even zoom in even farther, you're going to see more stuff pop up. You're going to start to see green and blue and purple and yellow and all these different colors. And you're like, what is going on? So these are going to be all your open trails. Those featured trails that I just mentioned are going to be the blue ones. And you see how these blue tabs are hovering over featured trails. So those are just to draw your eye on rich content, rich trail data. So as you come in farther, you'll start to see it getting clear. And then before I dive in even more, now at this level, this is when you can start scrolling around, seeing what's going on. And then I just mentioned a little bit ago that it's all interactive. So you see this big purple, you can click on it and then, oh, that's Arches National Park. Go out here, you're like, what's all this yellow mean? That's BLM. What's this green stuff? National Forest. So it is all interactive. That works for everything. Works for trails. You can pull up this random trail, and all that good stuff. So when you get to here, let's just say you're wanting to, you're gonna off-road up here towards like Fins and things out of Moab, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Before I even drop waypoints, I'm going to go over here, actually change it up. So on this left-hand side, you're going to see this Discover card. If you go ahead and click on that, if you guys have it brought up on your phone, you can click on it, pull it up. And this is probably one of the most powerful features that we have in this app. This is really cool, whether you're traveling to a new location, you're crossing state lines or whatever, and you have the most important thing here is like time, right? You can say, oh, cool. Like, look, this one's only, 4 hours, 2 hours, and you can kind of get a good gauge on what you're getting yourself into. And then this Discover card right here will actually, if you scroll around, it's actually going to pull up just the nearby trails that your monitor is teed up on or squared up on. So really cool feature. If you're scrolling through your area, you're like, oh, that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool. It's going to change. It's going to show you what you need to know about them. And then let's just say, for example, this first one, which is the closest where I'm oriented on the map. Let's click on it. You can click on it, and then this is like the featured trails that I was talking about. So this is what I mean by that rich content that's in here. Not every road is going to have these. You know, the green roads will have enough information, but the blue with the green is really going to have all this stuff packed in. High point, low point, technical rating, total time. It's an easy. You know, keep in mind with these technical ratings, this is kind of a gray area to let you guys know what you're getting yourself into. Obviously, vehicle choice and driver confidence and all that's going to play into it, but that's kind of gives you a bar what we view that tech rating as. Keep scrolling through here. It's going to give you an awesome overview. Dive through this. If this is something you want to do. Another really awesome thing about this is it'll show you pictures, what you got going on here, what you can expect. Again, the tech rating, getting there, directions, history, and then other nearby trails around here. So this is super, super powerful. I'd encourage all you to use it. I love this, and especially just for new trails, like looking at new trails. We all hopped on the internet and be like, hey, where's a trail near wherever I'm at? Like we've all done it. And then this is a great way to do that. And you'll find those trails. So really cool feature. Keep that in mind. Then I'll just go in order here. So the next one up is offline maps. This is probably the most important feature that we have. Offline maps is going to make it so you can use this software completely without service. Your GPS is still going to ping. You can still track. You can still drop waypoints. You can still do all these things in offline mode. So let's say that we just got to Moab. We know we're going to go up fins and things. And let's just pretend, I know Moab kind of has service, but like, let's just pretend there's no service out here. And even if there is bad service or spotty service, I'd still recommend downloading them. You're not limited to how many offline maps you can download. It's just what your phone can hold. So offline map, you're going to go new offline map. And then right here, you're going to get prompted to have a 5, a 10, and a 150. You'll notice there's high resolution, medium resolution, low resolution. You know, the 10 you can get away with a lot. I think it still shows up great when you're out of service. But if you want to even go tighter and more detailed, say you know you're not going to go out of this box, you go ahead here, hit this, you can name it. You do this, fins and things, offline map. You can do a little note here. And then I'm not going to hit save because it'll take a minute to download, but you would hit save. And then you're set. Now, when I demonstrate on the mobile, I'll show you what you guys use. There's one more step with mobile. Like you'll see this teed up, but it's actually not going to download on your device. You still have to go into mobile, and you'll see fins and things pop up on your app. And then you just hit download. You're good to go. Another tip here I like to recommend. You know, say you do a couple 5s, you might explore down here, you might cliffhanger or whatever, all this area. If you know you're going to just be in the general area of Moab, like just do a big old 150 around the whole thing. So then when you go out of your box, so a box within a box, right? So you can have all of those little 5s stitched together on a cool route that you want to do. I mean, some people have the entire state of Utah downloaded in the high res. It just depends what you want to do. But I always recommend doing a 150 over the top of the small boxes. And then at least if you go out of your box, you'll be fine. So that is offline maps. Let me see, let me zoom back in here. And then my content is next up on the list. So my content, this is where you are going to be able to import, export. You're going to be able to create folders. You can share directly from here. If you want to export, you see these little 3 dots up here. Hit this. You can export all your waypoints, all your content, a couple waypoints, whatever you want to do. But we get a lot of questions about import and export, and this is where you do it. So my content, 3 dots, or right here. But while I'm here, so I don't have any folders on this account right here, but let's just pretend I'm going to Moab next weekend. You can do this, name it Moab folder, and then you're going to see Moab folder pops up right here, okay? And then you are going to, if you want, you can do 2 things here. a few things here. You can just add waypoints to this. You can add old tracks into this. You can do whatever you want to add to this folder. So let's just say the staging point is this waypoint. We're going to drop another waypoint up here. Let's just say let's just pretend that's the trailhead. Trailhead, save it. And then if you get back into the My Content, you can still see the folder. You're going to hit this select right here. And this is going to allow you to select multiple waypoints. So this is really handy if you have like days planned out, like a day 1 package, day 2 folder, day 3 folder, day 4 folder, whatever that you guys want to do. This is sweet. You can share this. You can add this to the folder. So I'm going to add these waypoints, and then boom, those 2 waypoints are in my folder. And so it's all organized. And so when I go to share this folder with some friends, which is right here, they're set. It's gonna unpack all that folder. All the notes are gonna transfer over, all the waypoint names, all that stuff. So really, really cool. Keep that in mind. And this is really gonna be handy for, like I said, the multi-day deals where it's a day 1, 2, 3, whatever. Really powerful. Keep that in mind. And then moving on over to, actually, before I move on to tools, I forgot to cover, I usually cover filtering first, but it's fine because we're in dirt mode the whole time. But if you come up here, you're going to see this activity, it's dirt. So right now I have everything all selected. If you're a single track person only and you just want to ride single track only, you can filter that out and it'll only show single track. I always just keep it on. If you guys forget to, and you're like, why aren't trails showing up? Like, chances are that you left it checked on 50-inch or dirt bike. This is also where you're going to have the chance to toggle private land and active wildfires, which I'll show you an active wildfire because we still have some around here, but I'll show you guys that in a minute. Snow mode, you can transfer over here. You're going to see slope come on. Obviously, there's not going to be an avalanche forecast in Moab, but if you were up in the west, you'd start to see those avalanche forecast lines. So we're going to be in dirt mode this whole time, but just know that that's where you would toggle to snow mode. Okay, so good there. And then diving into, oh yeah, and the private land thing that I just mentioned too. Since that's toggled on, because this demonstration is done in Elite, so for those of you who have premium out there, you won't have the ability to pull up private land data, but this is what it looks like in Elite if you don't have that. And you can click on this, you can see who, Panorama, whatever Holdings LLC, they'll give you a tax address, they'll give you their acreage. Kind of cool. And that's super powerful, especially if you're unsure if a trail looks like it's cutting through private property, you don't know, you need to contact the landowner or something like that. I've had that happen to me before. You're able to pull it up and say, oh, so-and-so owns it. You can look them up. So anyway, keep that in mind. This is Elite. And then I'm going to dive into tools before we do anything else. And this next tool that we're about to showcase right here, this is something that we've been working on a long time. We're very excited about, and we hope you guys enjoy this next tool that I'm about to show you. And we're probably going to park here for about 10 minutes. I'll try to hurry up and get through it and show you the basic functionality of this next feature. But here it is. So you guys will now see in your web version on the top of this toolbar, it's going to say add a route. Yes, route builder. So super exciting. Another incredibly powerful tool that we now have in the desktop version of the app. So I'm just going to dive straight into it, show you a demo, how it works. But you're going to hit that top right and it's going to pull up and it's going to show just like this. So back to the Moab example. Let's say our staging point is right when this green trail starts. So you're going to hit this. It's going to be a snap to, and you're going to click it. And if you notice, this is now going to create a route. Super, super awesome. I'm really excited about this feature. So keep following it. You can drop pins along the way. Like say, if I back up here and say, you might go up that later, you can actually drop a pin like that, keep editing it, keep twisting it, and make it as long as you want. This opens the door for a lot of stuff here. I mean, I like it because it will display accurate distances. For those of you who've been with us for a little bit, you know, the old way was just kind of line tooled and kind of figure it out and get a rough estimate of how long your route was, but not anymore. This is going to give you elevation profile, like I said, the distance. And then I would also recommend at this point, you know, obviously if it's green, I wouldn't recommend green over a featured trail. I would recommend like a yellow or a purple or even a pink. I like to do my routes in like a dotted, so it kind of just stands out. And then you can collapse this if you want more of a view. If you're like really planning a big route and you need all this real estate on the screen, you can scroll. So really cool, really excited about it. Team's been working really hard on it. And then you can add more. So this is where it's going to come in handy, like I mentioned with the foldering with multi-day deals. So this is where, you know, I can see, hey, a day one route and then have a camping waypoint at the end, or hey, meet up here. This is where we're going to be day 2, day 3. And if you have people coming in that can't make it the first day, it's like they can follow your tracks, meet you wherever. Really powerful feature. So I'd encourage you all to play with it. And then I don't, you know, there's a lot to unpack in this feature alone. And don't worry, we're going to do an entire masterclass on this feature only. So if you feel like I'm skipping over it, I'm not. We will have a whole class dedicated to this feature and this feature alone. So really cool, really excited. Save it, name it, whatever. I'm going to discard this route. And that is that. Really awesome. Yeah, excited to show you that. And then so the next tool is going to be the draw line distance measure. This is just kind of as a crow flies line distance. It can be used in many ways. If you don't want to use that routing feature, you can, you know, in your, hey, you know, roughly how far is town from the trailhead or something like that, right? You can just line it, same thing, edit it. You can do free draw if you prefer that. Highlight zones. You know, if you think, hey, cool, it's going to be an area up here or whatever. Really cool. Or yeah, and that could work for camping too. If you know you're going to be up a trail or whatever, and you can free draw like kind of a rough idea of a camp, not even necessarily dropping a waypoint. That's another really cool way to do that. Next tool is going to be your area. So that's kind of similar to the free draw, but this is just a better one, more accurate. I like using this, and the example that I just gave with camp, you know, a lot of you are rolling up in fifth wheels, big trailers, side by side stacked in it, right? It can be tight for space in some of these camping areas, right? So I love to use that area tool. If you just pretend that you're going to be camping here, and I don't know, say you got 4 fifth wheels in your party, you come out here, and because it always looks big on satellite imagery, but then you get there and you're like, oh, whoa, that's a lot different. So you can do something like that. Hey, cool, like that's almost an acre right there. Like perfect, we're set. So keep that tool in mind. Really cool, really awesome trick. I'm even using it for like miscellaneous stuff around the house. Like I'm planning on building a shop here pretty soon. It's like I'm using that area shape to like map out how big the shop's going to be. So like really cool things that you didn't think you could use, you can use elsewhere. So keep that one in mind. And then back to Moab. All right, next one up on the list is waypoints. So this is going to be right here. It'll be a little different on the phone, but for desktop, it's going to be right here. Click this, add a waypoint. This is where you can name your waypoint. You know, if you do trailhead, something like that, whatever, name it however you want. You can do, it'll have a recently used here, which is super handy. And if you guys can see, it's changes. You can hit this plus, and this is going to drop down all these types of waypoints that you can do. Hike, fish, firewood, dirt bike, parking. There's a ton of stuff here. And I would suggest to you all, if you guys find yourself using the app quite a bit and you're dropping hundreds and hundreds of waypoints, I would recommend getting ahead of the waypoint color and labeling and adding photos to them. Because I have some of my accounts, I have thousands. And then when you look at it, when you're high up, it just looks like a waypoint blur. But at least if like, for example, my snowmobile stuff is in light blue and fishing stuff's in dark blue and hunting stuff's in red. And so whatever, just organize your waypoints however you see best, and it's gonna save a lot of headache in the long run. And then you'll be, oh cool, there's my black, that's what I have for all my trailheads. Cool, there's a trailhead. So keep that in mind. Then, as I mentioned, for the photos, this is where you would add a photo here. Same with mobile, you can add a photo waypoint. I would do that. Waypoint saved years ago, you pull up and you're like, what the heck was I doing up there? I don't remember that. So I would encourage everyone to attach a photo to a waypoint. Super, super handy. And then, or you can just add directly to here. So anyway, all right, next feature that I want to cover. This is an incredibly powerful tool. And I actually have this teed up on another tab I'll switch over to in a sec, but this down here on your bottom right, you're going to see this, and it's going to be satellite 2D. And then right now I have it in just normal satellite. You can turn it over to hybrid where it's going to show topo and satellite, or just go straight topo. I like this if you guys are out there like looking for a lake or a river or something, you kind of know an area, you kind of don't, you think there's a lake up there and you don't know. I recommend topo pops water really well, right? So if you're going up a canyon, you pop on topo and you're like, oh shoot, like that's a little lake up there. So keep that in mind. And then this is where you would hit 3D. So let's just say we're gonna go up Moab Rim. So you're going to hit 3D and it's going to pop up like this. And before I do that, actually, so when you do hit 3D, you're going to see this 3D elevation exaggeration. Probably realistically, the sliders probably about there. We have the option to kind of pull the mountains up even more for people in the flatland or east or something that a coulee or something might not look steep, but then you can pull it up and it actually gives it some real perspective, because we all know how things look on Google Earth. It's like, oh, that's a piece of cake, and then you get there and it's, whoa, that was not a piece of cake. So anyway, 3D mode, and kind of some basic function here. I'm on a Mac. I'm pretty sure it's the same for PCs, but you're going to do control and you're going to click, and then you can drag. So you can drag around here. Really, really cool. Gives you a really good idea. And especially for trails, like obviously this one wouldn't be a good example for the example I'm about to give, but like say you had your bumper pull trailer or something, you wanted to go up to a mountain or something, and it just gives you a really, really good idea of what you're getting into, how steep it actually is. Are there any good turnaround spots? Is it choked off at the top? All these things that this can answer for you. So super powerful. Keep 3D in mind. Last thing here on WebMap is going to be your weather right here. And the weather is obviously going to scrub where you're at, teed up on the map. The wind here, all that. And then this button, I'm not going to do this right now because this bottom right is an orientation to, it'll ping off of me, which I'll do on my phone here in a sec, but this is going to orient you back to where you're at. So don't, if you're like super focused on an area like this, and don't hit that unless you want to jump back to where you're at home. And then that is that. Search bar up here, I don't know if I covered that or not, but you can search here by location or landowner. You can actually type in coordinates here too. Coordinates will ping and pull up here. That's awesome. And then, yeah, that is it for the web map. I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to pull up the phone, so show you guys what it looks like on the phone.
Awesome. And while he's pulling that up, just a reminder, this is being recorded. So if there's anything you guys want to revisit, This will be on our YouTube account probably midday tomorrow.
Awesome. All right, cool. So on pulling up on the phone, you guys are obviously going to see a lot of similarities on how this works, but you will notice that like the Discover, offline maps, all that stuff is going to be at the bottom. Search bar is going to be top right. The hamburger menu is going to be top left. So as I demonstrated earlier with the map legends, settings, all that kind of stuff, this is where you're going to find it. Map legend here, pull this up. And I know it's hard to see where I'm clicking. So I'll try to be obvious where I'm pointing. But this is where you're going to, if you like the UTM, DMS, all that stuff, you can hide your coordinates, you can show your crosshairs. I have this enabled. I mean, you guys might not like this feature, but try it, is the enable pinch to rotate. And then so you can kind of take your fingers, and then we're all used to that, right? Scrolling maps, and Google, I think, does that. So we're familiar with that. So I have that enabled. I like it. And then, yeah, that's where you do all your customizing and find the legend. If you have an account issue, that's where you pull up your account information. A lot of people, you know, we hear, oh, shoot, like my account's not working, and then they're actually telling you wrong email. So that's going to show you like where that email and that account, you know, might be a letter off, but that's where you're going to find all that stuff. So okay, so for the activity, dirt mode, again, we're going to continue to stay in dirt mode. And then I told you guys I was going to show you what the active wildfires look like. This is obviously becoming, you know, not top of mind right now as we're getting later into the year. But over the summer, like, this was a big deal. Like, we had fires all over Idaho and Montana, and this can help you plan what you're going to be doing that weekend. You had a place in mind, and then you're, oh shoot, like, I didn't know that fire was creeping over the ridge or whatever. So areas to avoid, smoke, all that stuff. This is where you toggle to snow mode. But dirt mode, I'm going to keep all, but this is where you filter dirt bike, all that. Yeah, so we're just going to keep it all on all, but I'll actually show you what a fire, this is a Blodgett Lake. This is in the Bitterroots behind me right now. This is actually, both these fires are still going, but this is what it's going to look like. You can click on it, pull up the trail card. And then when I'm pulling this thing up, I know you guys can't see where I'm tapping, but like that gray bar, grab it and then like pull it up. So once you do that, and then you can scroll, we checked it on third, source updated, all that, percent contained, 60%. So this thing's still, they're probably just going to let it burn for the rest of the year. I think we're supposed to get some snow, but that is the fire layer, really handy, keep that in mind. And then the offline maps, as I mentioned on WebMap, you were going to be prompted. So if I were to save that map of Moab that I just gave the demonstration of, you go into your offline maps and you would see it, and it would say that you need to download it. It would be first in line. Since I didn't save it on desktop, it's not going to show up here, but that's where you would do this. And if we pull all these up, these are just offline maps that I have. You'll notice that some of them have an update available. So this is another important thing for those of you, you guys are going to start stacking your offline maps up, and you might have hundreds. Occasionally come in here and say, oh shoot, I didn't know that there was an update available, because that could be a land ownership change, that could be a trail change, like a lot of things. So make sure your offline maps are updated. And to do that, if we just go to this third one here on the list, hit the three dots, update, edit, or remove. That's where you do that. And it's pretty fast to update them, because the map's already queued up. And this is also where you would, so you see how this is toggling on and off, offline. So I always recommend to people, when you're going out, even if you kind of have spotty service, you hit your offline. And so this is basically telling your phone, this is forcing your phone, and this forcing the app into airplane mode, but you'll still get the occasional text or whatever. You go up a hill, you crest a hill, and you feel your phone vibrate. So it's not going to like totally turn your phone on airplane mode, but it's telling the app to go on airplane mode. So then that's saying, hey, rely on these offline maps that I have downloaded, and it's going to be crystal clear. And because your phone's always going to try to grab a signal, right? Even if it's a weak signal, it's always going to try to grab a signal. So just say, hey, no, I'm in a bad area. I'm going to force it into offline mode. So that's a really good trick to keep in mind. Let me go. Okay, my content. Dive into my content really quick. I know I covered this in WebMap, but it is a little different style on mobile. So you can add a folder. You can select here. This is where you would, so you can scroll here. It kind of gives you a, reminder here, tap on map items above to select. And so if I just want to do all these waypoints, for example, that's where you do it. You can either add to a folder or you can share, export, all that stuff, delete them. So keep that in mind. If you highlight too many, you just simply tap that last waypoint to get rid of it. So I'm going to cancel out of that, pull this down to exit out of that. And then the toolbar, same thing. We don't have to dive into all the tools. The only, it's going to be the exact same I just demonstrated on the web version. The only difference here being is you're going to now see a mark my location at the bottom right-hand corner. So I like doing this, and it's like it's dropping a waypoint, but I like doing this if you're in a hurry, you're on the go, or you're ripping on your side-by-side or dirt bike and you're in a hurry, you don't want to hold up the line or whatever the case may be. This is where you can hit mark my location and it's just going to drop a waypoint right on top of you, and then you can continue on your way. Now with that, that being said, it might, that could bite you if you're dropping like 30 of them in a trip. And then you're like, oh, shoot, I had no idea what those waypoints were that I dropped because I was in a hurry. So, yeah, it's faster, but I would encourage you, if you do mark my location, go back and edit it, and then you can add a waypoint. So if you go into the waypoint here for that example, pull it up, go over and hit edit. There you go. Change it, change the color, add a photo here. If you hit this, it's going to allow you to actually take a phone or take a picture with your phone, or select from your library. Again, with back to like the waypoint color, get into your strategy of my blues are this, my greens are this, whatever. So that is that. We'll discard that one. And then before I dive into Go and Track, I wanted to show this feature. So as you guys can see right here, it's pinging my location. Let's say I want to go up to this waypoint that I don't know what this one is. This is a random one, but say it's up north. You're going to see the option to navigate to, which is not on WebMap. So this is also going to be different for mobile. You're going to hit this, and it's going to it'll give you the option for Apple Maps or Google Maps, and it's just going to put that coordinate in Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever you prefer, and it's going to give you turn-by-turn directions to that waypoint. So that is a super, super incredible tool. Keep that in mind. A lot of people forget that's there, but just remember that that's there. Cool. And then for the last feature on the mobile version, on the very bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see Go and Track. If you hit this, it's going to give you a puck, kind of like a puck location indicator. And then this is also like oriented how my phone is facing right now. I know you guys probably can't see, but I'm turning my phone, and that's the direction I'm facing. So this is really cool. If you're you're tracking, you have this mounted in a vehicle, up is your phone. So if you have it mounted like this, that puck is going to be indicated where you're going. You hit record track, it's going to go red when you're live. And then you can pause it, recenter it here, expand this, whatever you want to do. But a lot of people forget to end their track. I've had it, plenty of times where I'd get back from a ride and then I'm like, why am I going 60 on? Oh, because I left it on in the truck. So keep that in mind after a ride or whatever, end your track, save your track, or delete that track. You can share all that. You can share that track out to your friends if you want, like, hey, look, I did this cool loop. Here you go. Here it is. Now, when that buddy gets the track, keep in mind, they're not going to be able to edit that track. We do that so if someone were to send me a track, I can't just like chop it up and publish it and make it, blast it out to everybody. So if you share a track, that person receiving the track will not be able to edit those tracks. So keep that in mind. And then another thing, oh yeah, for if any of you have the phone open right now and you're looking at it, I forgot to mention this when I kicked off, but take your 2 fingers and then slide it up and down and you'll see this tilt function. That's also something that people don't know that this thing can do. So tilt, this is good if you're driving and you want a little more visibility to the top of your screen. That's a good solution for that. And then on the very bottom right hand corner below the satellite is going to be your direction indicator. So this is going to ping to your location, but this is also going to give you like a headlight mode. So if you see a ridge off in the distance, or you see a trailhead or whatever, you think your truck's down there, you're in the dunes or something like that, where you can't really train associate or anything like that, it's a little harder. This is where you do it. So like I'm pointing my phone and then this is the direction that I'm pointing. So keep that in mind. It will give you a direction. If you don't like that view, you simply tap it again and it will orient back north and south. And I just wanted to show you, because I didn't have this was on a different account, but I wanted to show you, because we got a question last time about editing a track and I wasn't able to find a track, but I have a track today that I can show you exactly what they were talking about. So this was a ride I did, I don't know, I think 2-3 years ago. It was just a little south of Green River, Utah on a dirt bike. And then this was a track I did down 10-mile wash. So just say like this is your track. Again, not shared to me, like I made this track. So that's the only way you're able to edit it. So this is a track I did in 2021. Pull it up, kind of give you a cool little stat card. It'll give you the distance. And this is really cool. Like when you can see if you're tracking and say you're on a dirt bike or something with a smaller fuel tank, it's like, oh shoot, I went 20 miles one way, like might want to think about turning around right now. Or if you have a 450 or something that's sucking a little more fuel, that's just something to keep in mind. And then routing will obviously solve that problem too if you're planning. But if you find yourself just diving in down the trail or whatever and you're tracking, you're like, uh-oh, mile 20 or 25 and I'm really hard on the gas, like I might want to turn around. So keep that in mind. But with the trim track function, so on the bottom you're going to see like a little scissor thing. You're going to click on that, and then you can trim from the beginning or the end. So it's that truck example where I was driving down the highway that I was just talking about. That's where you'd see your track take off down the freeway and you're like, oh shoot, like nope, it wasn't there, it was right here when I got into the truck. So this little slider is how you edit and cut those tracks. Same thing from the beginning. You can take it in from the front side of the track too. That's how you would do that. And that is pretty much it. I know that was a lot to cover and I had to go fast for time's sake. This is going to be recorded, we can have these posted after the fact. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Hunter and we are going to get going on some Q&A and answer some live questions for you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Jake. Yeah, that was definitely, there's a lot of information we have to cover. So we do kind of have to hustle through stuff. But there is that Q&A feature. Our team is answering those as quickly as we can. And then we will also be answering these in real time on the class here. So let me get this pulled up here. Okay, so this one might be a good one we can actually use as an example. What is a way to scope out campsites and locations that you may want to stop.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, I have WebMap pulled up, Hunter. I can just take this one.
Yeah, if you can, and we'll probably try to knock out a couple more in
Sweet.
WebMap, and then
All right, cool. So WebMap pop back up.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So great question. We hear it all the time. Camping, you know, is top of mind to a lot of people, and there's a lot of people just don't know, like, oh, like you can camp up to, I think Utah's like 14 days or something like that on BLM land. I can't remember, but you know, check with what state you're camping in, but I'm pretty sure that's like, you know, you can get away with a lot of camping days on BLM. So really cool. So again, if you're, say you're coming through this Green River, Utah area, you know, you're just outside of Moab, you're a little away from the crowds. Like I love going here. There's whitewash open riding area down here, which is super awesome. But you know, for example, it's like, hey, you know, I'm going to come down here and come down 70. This is the main entrance into that whitewash area. I know I'm going to be kind of around here. So what I'm going to do, and we don't have the time for it, otherwise I would actually like do a whole plan with a route, and you know, if I wanted to send it to a buddy, like, hey, camp's here. But you know, you can get in, and this satellite is pretty dang detailed. Like, I mean, you can almost get in and see tire tracks. Like this thing, you can really zoom. So say you just wanted to be right off the road. You can use those tips and tricks that I gave with like a measure area if you want. I mean, this area in general is going to be pretty big. You don't have to worry about it. Like, you know, that's more for like tight mountain little gaps in satellite imagery where you're like, oh, that's a pretty big opening. But for down here in the desert, it's pretty much fair game. But just know, so step one is, you know, am I on state, or am I on BLM, or am I on national forest? You know, like this is a state chunk that probably you wouldn't have known that you would have driven through a state chunk if it weren't for something like this. So I look at that, I'd be like, hey, cool, that's got space, whatever, close enough to the trailhead. I'd come in here, I'd drop a waypoint. Let's just say we're going to have all of our camping waypoints black. You're going to come in here, let's just do this camp area. Come in here, name it, camp night 1. And then I'm going to save this. And then you can copy the coordinates directly, send them to a buddy, or you can just share directly from here and say, hey, cool, camp 1. And then when they pull it up, you're going to see camp night 1. So the main thing is just clicking on the land ownership that you plan on being in that area. And then, you know, if there's some cases, this isn't a good example, but there's some cases where you'll see like a big chunk of private, you know, around the road, and you would never know. It's not marked or anything, but then you go to camp on it because it all looks the same. You're out in the desert and someone rolls up on you and like, hey, what are you doing on my property? So make sure you're in the yellow in this case, and then you're set.
Perfect. And you kind of touched on the next question here, is viewing private land data.
Cool.
Yeah, so one I'll touch on real quick is that the elite membership is going to have the private land data. So that'll have the landowner names, the tax, mailing address, and that'll tell you who owns which parcel. And then Jake can zoom in here and kind of touch on the different colors and how to use it.
So this is a perfect example of, it's like, say you're in Green River and it's getting dark and you're like, shoot, I got to go set up camp. Look, there's this green open road down here. But then, like I said, like it's not like, I don't know who owns this, but click on it, see this, who owns this. There's the owner, secondary owner, the tax address. They have like almost a 5,000 acre chunk there. So probably a pretty big ranch, might be running cattle out there, who knows, but this is an example. It's like you're driving, and you know, I've done this a ton of times where you're driving through something like this and you're like, cool, into the yellow, fair game, camping here. So again, if you don't know and you're like, oh shoot, is this fair game? Click on it. Yep, BLM, I'm good. And then you could just be like right over the property line. So this keeps you legal, and it makes you savvy on where you can camp. Like this little road right here just touches into BLM. And then people don't view that as a campsite. You know, they're like, oh, you know, they're looking for the campsites in town. But look, you just go down this road, Boom, BLM, big flat spot in here. It's probably a sweet campsite. So
Right on. And real quick, before we forget, we're going to jump over and touch on the giveaway. Let's pull this up here. All right. Okay, so if you are still on the call, this is your reward. We are giving away 25 of our onX Offroad bandanas. There's no purchase necessary, but a account is required, and the basic account is free, and that counts. So there is a link there. We're also going to be dropping that in the chat, so you can enter to win. And then if you're watching this after as a recording, it will be closed. It is closing tonight at midnight, November 3rd. So go ahead and jump in there. And yeah, so that covers it for the giveaway. And then we will jump back in. Looks like we have time for a few more questions here. One I'm seeing is what the difference between the memberships are. So we have the basic account, the premium account, and then the elite account. So the basic is free. You don't have to pay for that. When you first start your account, you do get that 7-day trial of elite, which has all the bells and whistles. So with a free account, you get one offline map. And then once you jump up to that premium, that is when you'll have unlimited offline maps, and then you'll get access to featured trails, photo waypoints, 3D maps, and then up at that elite membership, that's when you're going to get into the private land data. And that's one of my favorite features. I've heard stories of people using it to find the name of an owner. If they're driving down the highway, they see a old truck out in the field. They've actually gotten a hold of the owner through this. So it's really powerful, and it helps you know the land that you're on. You are good to go, making sure that you're not breaking any rules that you're not aware of. And just really helps make sure that you know where you're going. And that kind of covers the different levels there. Let's see. Jake, have one here. For the new route builder, for the routes that you build in WebMap, are you able to see that on your phone?
yeah, so you'll be able to right now, you'll be able to see it. You won't be able to create it. Android is good to go. iOS is, I think we rolled it out a couple weeks ago. So iOS users should have that functionality too, but it will be view only. But I mean, I like creating them in the desktop version anyway, a little more detail. You can kind of control what's going on. You're not, thumbing a route with your finger. So anyway, yeah.
Perfect. And we touched on a little bit, but I have one here asking what a feature trail is. So the feature trails, those are the blue lines in the map, both on WebMap and on your device. And that there's a group, they're called trail guides. They actually go and run the trails in their own rigs, and they gather technical difficulties, trail ratings. They provide a description, and also photos. So this is a great way if you're finding a new area, or you have a new rig, or you're just getting into off-roading. This is a really great way to know kind of what you're getting into. I always like it. I have kids, so when we go out, I know that I'm looking for like the 4s and below, trail wise. It'll also give you the length and kind of a rough time it takes to complete it as well. Obviously, that depends on your rig, and also your right foot, on how fast or slow you go on that. But yeah, the feature trails, and those are being added to regularly as well. So we're have a whole team adding to that. Okay, let's see here. Do you have any pre-trip recommendations before you go? If you want maybe like a couple pointers, if this is all you remember in the class, kind of take with you.
Yeah, I mean, number one is going to be, pick a location, of course. You want to go out into the desert, want to get into the high country before the snow flies, whatever. But the main takeaway are those offline maps. Download them, even if you might not be in that exact area, just download them. You can download a bunch of them and then do the giant 150 around, and then do your high resolution ones inside the box. And then the second major takeaway is it's all interactive. So if you don't know, click on it.
Perfect. And then one thing I'd add to that is organization. The more you use this app, the more waypoints you're going to have, the more tracks and routes. So I always say try and get ahead of it. If you're going to start planning out like your first trip, go ahead and just make that folder, and you can start storing things in that folder. So when it comes down the road, you're a couple years later, if you want to see where you went, or if someone's asking for a trail recommendation, you can pull that up real fast. So that's just one of the things I really find important and helps, making sure you're not losing those awesome camp spots, making sure that you're not getting lost in all your data. This one, we may want to do a quick walkthrough, but how do you report a bug or incorrect trail in the app?
Cool.
I will give you the keys back here, Jake.
Yeah, so I'll do it on mobile. Let me pull it up. I'll plug the phone back in. Okay, so let's share. Cool. Is that up? Sweet.
Yep.
Okay, so back to Moab area. So say you're going up the Moab rim and something, these big rocks fell onto the trail and no one's getting around or something crazy like that. You just click on the trail, and then where you see the bottom slider right here, you just go all the way over, and then on the far right, you would report an error right there. So super simple. Click on whatever you're trying to report an error on, scroll over, there it is.
Perfect. We'll do the last question while you're still in.
Yeah, no problem.
If you could do a quick, just showing how to share either a folder or a waypoint.
Yeah, cool. Let me get back to this real quick. Okay, so if you're just wanting to share a single waypoint, you can just simply click on it, and then you're going to have this share option. For those of you on mobile, you can just click on any waypoint that you made, tap it, and then you're going to see the share right down there too. This is where you can add it to the folder, or that Moab folder that I created just a little bit ago. You can click on that and share that whole folder too, and that's going to go for the same on mobile. So just keep that in mind. Sharing is usually, I think sharing is the first or second option on mobile, and then on desktop right here, it's right here. So good to go.
All right, perfect.
Cool. And then Hunter, I had before we close out, I forgot to cover this last time, but I wanted to touch on this really quick for our East Coast and Southern people that are tuning in right now. Just so you guys know, like we are getting after private parks. A lot of, for those of you out that way, that there's not a lot of public land. Most of these parks are in, privately owned or whatever. So I wanted to pull this up and show you guys an example. This was Ultimate Adventure that we did a couple of years ago. if you want to come in here, and this is again, this is where Elite is really going to benefit, because then you start to see all, all these different landowners. And then right here was a day we did at Contempsey Rocks, which was a really incredible off-road park, a lot of fun. You click on it, tell you the size of it, acreage. So anyway, keep that in mind for those tuning in from that side of the country. We are chipping away at it. So yeah, stay tuned. More private parks are going to be added.
Awesome. All right. Well, that covers what we have for you guys. We really appreciate you guys spending your evening with us. We love taking the time to teach what we're passionate about, what we work on every day. And again, this will be on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So if you jumped in late or want to review anything, this whole thing's been recorded. It'll be on our YouTube probably around noon Central tomorrow. But that's it. We really appreciate it.